Okay, guess I'm live now, but I am by myself. Hopefully, we get some people coming through. Yes, Dalmas. I'm doing well, buddy. How are you? I'm not sure what the delay is like on this, but I've only just seen your message. Yeah, I'm good. Good. I'm glad there's at least one person here. In the meantime, I'm going to get up some news headlines, see what we can find. Okay, so I think the most pressing news is Joshua supposedly saying that he's going to take £15 million step aside deal to allow Fury and Usyk to fight. But of course, Joshua's come out since then and looks like he said otherwise. Yeah, because in the next article it says Anthony Joshua denies £15 million step aside deal. So that's interesting development. I wonder what's happening there. Last night's card was great overall. The main event wasn't amazing, but the card overall. Oh, are you talking about the Gary Russell Jr. card, that one? Because if you are, yeah, the main event. Oh man, I found it a bit of a chore to watch, if I'm honest. Yeah, I think it was a combination of Gary Russell not really being the fighter that he used to be, but then also fighting an opponent who not only was unheralded but wasn't just wasn't that great. You know, he's good, he's decent, but you don't look at him and think, oh wow, this is the guy who's going to take over the division. Because you know, sometimes you get some opponents who are completely unknown, but they have, I don't know, their first world title fight, and they blow someone away, and it's like, oh, where's this guy come from? Whereas Messiah, he's not really like that, to be fair. You know, he might get better. G-Man, how you doing, bro? It's person number 2 in the chat. This is already 2 more people than I expected to have, so I'm extremely grateful. We're just talking about the Gary Russell Jr. card. Yeah, I haven't seen any of the other fights. Let me just check BoxRec and see what other fights there were, because I pretty much only watched that one. And you know, I don't want to sound like a downer, but I wasn't even particularly excited to watch that fight. Bear with me. Okay, so yeah, we've got the main event. Is his name pronounced Matthias or Matthias? Subriel Matthias? I'm gonna guess it's pronounced. I've seen him once before. I can't remember which fight it was. Let me go on his record. Yeah, I can't even remember which fight it was. And I thought he looked decent. He looks okay. One fight doesn't, it's not usually enough. But yeah, won in the 9th round against Petros Ananyan. Okay, I don't know that guy either. Nayambaya, that's the Mongolian guy. Is he Mongolian? Yeah. He fought Gary Russell as well. Yeah, so I'm not really. I recognize some of the names on the undercard, but yeah, I can't say I was particularly excited leading up to the fights. But I'll check them out. If there are any highlights, let me know and I'll see what I can find. But I'll definitely check out Matthias, because I think he's kind of. I don't want to say he's like going to be the next big thing, but a lot of people kind of give their accounts of him and they say that he's going to be a handful. But super lightweight, what's that division like right now? Because who's a super lightweight? Because how do I get onto the division? Bear with me. Okay, yeah, of course you still got Josh Taylor, but he's tied up with that Jack Catterall fight. I'm not sure what I think about that one as well. Jack the Cat Catterall, because that fight, his fight against O'Hara Davis absolutely scarred me. You know, sometimes a fight is just in such an absolute stinker of a fight that you're not particularly keen to watch him again. All right, let me check the chat. Dalmas, I think Matthias is potentially a top 3 talent at 140, in my opinion. I'd edge him over Zepeda. Okay. I'll definitely have to check him out. Matthias, G-Man, Matthias is good. I was worried about him after the Maxim fight in 2020. Yeah, see, that's 2029, 2019. Yeah, that's always a worry, because it's unfortunate, and some fighters, they lose that killer instinct, and you can understand why. They're only human after all. Like, it takes a special fighter. Maybe special is not the word, but it takes a certain type of fighter to be in that kind of situation and still maintain a lot of that killer instinct. And that's, you have to look at the likes of Sergey Kovalev. He didn't lose his killer instinct. If anything, he became even more vicious in his career. And yeah, hard man, Kovalev, very hard man. At least when he's on top, that is. Yeah, so 140, Josh Taylor, still undisputed, but he's fighting Jack the Cat. Regis Prograis. When did Prograis last fight? Was it when he fought Red Catch? Yeah. So that's been, oh wow, it's been nearly a year. That was last April 2021. Prograis is one of my favorite fighters, man. I wish he fought more often and against better opposition, because that's the thing. It's like, when Regis Prograis is the kind of fighter I'm talking about, someone who doesn't necessarily have the biggest profile, but when he comes onto the scene, you're like, damn. Once this guy gets his, I don't know, into a mandatory position or he's fighting a big name, he's going to do damage. That was Regis Prograis, because I first heard of Prograis around the time that Crawford had just unified the division. And I was like, this is going to be a tough fight. Doesn't necessarily mean that Crawford would lose to him, but I just felt like it'd be a tough fight. Just stylistically, someone like Prograis got a lot of tools, and it's like the combination of his assets really makes him a handful. And I know I just said he's one of my favorite fighters, but objectively, I do feel like Prograis beat Josh Taylor only by like 2 rounds. And I've watched that fight twice, and both times I felt like Prograis did enough. But you know, it wasn't an easy fight by any means. Jose Cepeda. I haven't seen that much of Cepeda. Of course, he's coming off a big win against Vargas, but how good was Vargas really? I remember watching him because I first saw him on Instagram, like I see many fighters, like these young fighters, they have like massive profiles before they even turn pro. And Vargas, I kid you not, the first thing I saw of him wasn't training, it wasn't boxing or anything like that. It was a picture of him sucking his girlfriend's toes. And at that point, I was just like, what? Like, if this guy goes on to get his ass kicked by someone, he's never going to live that down. He's always going to be known as the guy who was sucking his girlfriend's toes. And that's, he paid the price for it in the ring. Yeah, Zepeda's got a good run right now. Because, oh yeah, I completely forgot he beat Pedraza. And Pedraza's a good fighter. His day's probably been and gone, but he's still a good fighter. He had that war with Baranchik as well. That was brutal. So yeah, he's looking decent. Jose Ramirez. I never saw the fuss about him, to be fair. He had a good win over Hooker. But other than that, I didn't really think he was anything special. And you can probably find the video on my channel. I actually picked Josh Taylor to beat Ramirez fairly comfortably. I just didn't see him. I didn't see what other people saw. Sandor Martin. I'm yet to watch this guy, to be honest. But obviously, he's just beaten Mikey Garcia. G-Man and Dalmas, what do you make of Sandor Martin? I haven't seen him. I know his name, but I haven't seen him. Is he, after his win against Mikey Garcia, is he in the running to be one of the top guys at 140? Yeah, so overall, just looking at BoxRec, 140, I think it's good. It's a decent division. I don't even think it's as strong as it has been over the past couple of years. I feel like it's maybe been watered down a little bit. Just my opinion, though. Some people have the same opinion of the heavyweight division now, which is, to me, it's insane. To many people, it's insane because heavyweight is just absolute Shark Tank. It's not surprising that people are going to be trading wins and losses. G-Man. Martin is good, but I think Mikey, the hunger is gone, so the win might flatter some. Yeah. I mean, on paper as well, it's a majority decision over 10. And that's Dalmas saying the same thing. Sandor's win over Garcia was more of Mikey looking flat than Martin looking amazing, but he had decent skill. Yeah, I think with Mikey Garcia, there was a lot of... Mikey Garcia is a good fighter, but I don't think he was ever like the top pound for pound kind of guy that many people made out. If you said he was like a top pound for pound puncher, I'd agree. But skills wise, I didn't really saw Mikey Garcia doing anything that special. And of course, he had a long time out the ring. And yeah, Obviously, as you go up in the weights, he's not going to have that same punch. And maybe he just doesn't, as you say, he's just flat. He doesn't have the hunger anymore. Because Mikey Garcia he's been around a long time. Let's see when he turned pro, actually. Mikey Garcia, when did he turn pro? Because you'll be surprised. Like, a lot of the fighters that are active today, some of them have been around for a long time. Because I don't know how, but they start early and they finish early. Or they start early, finish late, rather. Excuse me. There we go. Right. Mikey Garcia debut date was 2006. Okay, so it's not like he's been on for ages, but what's that? That's 16 years. It'll be 16 years in July. 16 years. That's a long time. And he's 34. Yeah, so he turned pro at 18, which is Mikey at 130, 135 was great. When he hit 140, that's when he had the issues. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, the power doesn't carry up with him, and the skills. Mikey Garcia was decent. Like, I think he looked polished. You know, that he didn't really have much tell on his punches. He was quite sharp, but when you actually look at his IQ, probably not the best. And if you're going to go up against much bigger guys like an Errol Spence, you need more than the power. You know, I'm sure Errol Spence in his career has been hit hard. Could you imagine if he's sparring at the Mayweather gym, how many punches he's going to come across, or how many punches he's likely to come across? You come across a tiny guy like Mikey Garcia, probably not going to be that much to worry about. Right. So yeah, that's look, probably not the best card, I think, right now. It's kind of dry in boxing, you know, and that's why I wanted to do this live stream, because not really that many fights to talk about. There's Matunee versus Makabu. That's next Saturday, so that'll be 29th. What do we think about that, gentlemen? I'm not sure who I'm picking for that one. I haven't seen Matunee fight in a long time. I think the last time I saw him fight was the Usyk fight. So that was what, December 2016? It was a long time ago. I always liked Matunee though. Very another guy, very polished. Not necessarily a puncher, but quite slick. You know, you can tell this guy he likes to fight with style. Let's check Matunee. Okay, so for Dishenko, that was in. Okay, so Matunee fought nearly a year ago, about 10 months ago. Oh, he fought Denis Lebedev. I didn't even know that. I didn't even know that. Oh, but that was back in December 2019. That's why. That was ages ago. Oh, I heard about him stopping Bolotniks in the 6th. That was back in June 2018. And yeah, I haven't seen Matunee fight since the Usyk fight. Oh, wow. Matunee's looking good lately. Might even take him. Schooled Lebedev. Well, yeah, because, you know, you can find the first fight between Makabu and Matunee, and it wasn't really that close. It wasn't really that close, and it wasn't like Matunee's like, yeah, he's a good guy, but he's no like cruiserweight Floyd Mayweather or anything like that. But it's just, at least at the time, Makabu was just so limited. There was such long stretches of them Makabu just looking at him like completely befuddled and didn't know what to do. Yeah. So Matunee, okay, looks like he's having a bit of an Indian summer in his career, which is surprising because the way Alexander Usyk beat the brakes off him. That was a brutal fight. And it wasn't even because, it was one punch stoppage or anything like that. It was just Alexander Usyk constantly piecing up Matunee after like the second or third round. I'm still baffled that Don King is getting fights of this caliber on his cards, honestly. The Matunee versus Makabu fight is at Don King. The last guy he beat was gold medalist Rio. He schooled him even as the away fighter. Okay, so is this Matunee's last fight against Tishenko? Is that Tishenko? Is he a gold medalist? Because I know the name. Don't really. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't really follow amateur boxing too tough, to be fair. I've watched it here and there in spots, but yeah, I'm definitely neglecting that side. And obviously, I've got to watch his pro fights as well. Yeah, okay, I'll check out Matunee's fights because I'm yet to make a formal prediction for that one. I don't think you can really discount someone like Matunee, especially when you see the success he had over Makabu in the first fight. But yeah, Matunee, I'll check out his most recent fights. I've seen a little bit more of Makabu. I think he fought Kudryashov, didn't he? Pretty sure he did. Makabu fought Kudryashov. Yeah, he did. I think that was the last one I said. Either the Papin fight or the Kudryashov fight. Those were the last ones. Fought and stopped Duradola in December 2020, but everyone stops Duradola. Out of what? 9 defeats, he's got 7 stoppage losses. Like, Duradola's done. But also, Makabu also fought Michael Sheslak, who is scheduled to fight Lawrence Okolie soon. Pound for pound boxing, big up. Hope you're staying. Join the chat with Dalmas, G-Man, and myself. Just talking the matchup between Matunee and Makabu. Having a look at the cruiserweight landscape. Yeah, I'm kind of disappointed with this fight with Lawrence Okolie and Michael Sheslak. I think his name's Sheslak because he's Polish. I think that's how you pronounce it. Yeah, man, I'm kind of disappointed because I like watching Okolie. I'm excited to see where Okolie goes. I believe that his development of late, especially technically, is it's definitely impressive. But you just want to see him in with better opponents. Boxing on the edge, yes. How you doing? Yeah, Lawrence Okolie. I want to see him in against better people because you know what? Remember when G-Man, you and I were on with Hatman, and I said that I felt that it might be too early for Okolie to take on Bradis, but you said the other way. You said that it'd probably be the right time. I think I agree with you now. I think it is the right time. I think if they fought next, I'd have to favour Okolie. I think there's a good chance he might even blow Bradis away. But we have to wait and see. Who knows? On the 27th of February, Lawrence Okolie might get turned over. I doubt it though. I think I might have seen Sheslak fight before and I wasn't particularly impressed. But we shall see. What do you guys make of the DAZN lineup? Because this is one of the fights that was announced when they made the announcement. I haven't seen too much of Makabu Matunee, but I'm seeing many say that they think Matunee will beat Makabu and he won't get the Canelo fight. It's a possibility. Pound for pound boxing, I think you should check Matunee out because he's a good fighter. Well, at least on my assessment back in the day. I think the first fight I saw of Matunee was the Eddie Chambers fight. So that might have been mid 2010s kind of thing, that kind of time. I think it was a while ago. Matunee was good because the thing was as well, he's tiny, he's a small guy. He's listed at like 5'11". That's some straight BS. This guy, he'd be lucky if he broke 5'8", because they always like to blow up the heights of these fighters, make them a bit more marketable. Oh wow, the Eddie Chambers fight. So Matunee versus Eddie Chambers was 2013. I didn't think it was that long ago. Boy, time flies. Kind of scary. But yeah, definitely check out Matunee. Very sharp, very crafty, and a good athlete as well because he's built like a tank. But he's like a garden gnome. Pound for pound boxing. All these short guys in boxing. Gary Russell. Gary Russell is small. Just to fly off on a tangent, that guy's tiny. Honestly, man. Boxing on the Edge. The DAZN lineup sounded good when I remember seeing it. I think Vargas Smith has been posted, but still good. Yeah, that one got postponed. Wasn't that like the first fight? That was supposed to be like in the first week of Feb, and it got postponed because of the you know what, which is BS, of course. But let me get up the rest of the lineup because I was going to do a video for it, but I never got around to it. I thought I'd just address it in a live stream. DAZN, who says, which person on YouTube says DAZN? DAZN. Everyone has one guess. DAZN. Who am I? Go to the comment quickly. Rung Visai versus Quadras. Yeah, Rung Visai is kind of. Wait, do I pronounce it like that? Because that's not who I'm thinking of. No, maybe I shouldn't say it with the accents. DAZN, on DAZN. That's kind of how he talks. I'm not great at accents. Yeah, Quadras. Yeah, I don't mind that fight. Do you remember a few years ago when there was like all eyes were on the super flyweight division? Because to be fair, there were some good fights. Like when Rungvisai knocked out Chocolatito, man, that was brutal in the second fight. Because I remember watching that fight the morning after, and I didn't know the result, and he smoked him, that right hook. Oh, sickening. Okay, yeah, found it. So yeah, Vargas Smith was supposed to be for February 5th, got postponed. Jacobs versus Ryder. I don't know why. I love that fight. And I just hope that the momentum that John Ryder's had in his fights leading up, I hope he carries it into this fight. I hope we don't see a return to form. Because yeah, John Ryder, man, why this guy he had some weird mental block. I remember the Nick Blackwell fight. He just unraveled, just completely folded. But he seems to have some fire in him now. So and Danny Jacobs, I think he's on his way out, but not like he's shot. It's just he probably wants to settle down now because he's had a long career as well. Munguia versus Ballard. I'm not sure who Ballard is, but Munguia, it's always good to see young fighters like him kind of to fight so you can gauge where they are in their development. Okoli versus Shazlak. Good to see Okoli. Probably going to be an easy knockout for him. Hopefully it's a brutal one. Estrada versus Chocolatito. 3. Oh, man. Ryder will beat him. Jacobs has lost something recently. Maybe. Because didn't Jacobs... Did he get a split decision over Rosado? Was it a split? Once he got the bag, he basically shut down. Yeah, I think, fighters like Jacobs, do you remember seeing how pumped he was for the Golovkin fight? Because at the time, that's when they didn't want to fight Golovkin. And so he stepped up and he was firing on all cylinders. And I feel like after that, he's maybe struggled to get the same intensity. He He fought Derevianchenko, fought Canelo. He probably secured the bag in the Canelo fight, and he's like, "Hey man, I'm one of the richest guys in Brooklyn now. I can put him up." Because it's a weird, not a weird fight, but it's potentially a step down. Would you say? Because he's fought Golovkin, he's fought Derevianchenko, Canelo, and now John Ryder. Yeah, that McKinson fight will be interesting to see how he does at world level. McKinson, I don't want to disrespect the guy, but whenever I've seen McKinson fight, I hated it. I've hated it. Like, I just McKinson. Oh, I just hate his style. Like, I hate the way he throws his shots. I hate the way he moves. And look, it's effective up until now. Or, I mean, it is effective, but I just don't like the way it looks. But that's another weird fight because Ortiz Jr. just beat Kavaliauskas, and Kavaliauskas is someone who I rate very highly. I think he's a real danger man. Obviously, he's lost twice, but he gave Terence Crawford a tough fight. He rocked Virgil Ortiz, and now he's going up against McKinson. I mean, look, in my opinion, that's Ortiz Jr.'s fight to lose. So if McKinson wins, it'll be a statement. But hey, look, bring it on. That's what these fights are all about. It's a good bridge for McKinson. Wood versus Conlon. I'm not too familiar with Lee Wood. I know who he is, and he's WBA champ. I want to say WBA. Correct me if I'm wrong. He just reminds me of this one guy who was on Love Island not long ago. Because my missus watches it, and there was this one guy. I think his name was Hugo. That was it. So if you just Google Love Island Hugo, I swear he's a spitting image of Lee Wood. Bit of trivia for you there. Martinez versus Warrington 2. What do you guys think about Martinez versus Warrington 2? Obviously, boxing on the edge. We both spoke about it when we went on with Chris Andre. How about you, G-Man, pound for pound boxing? What do you think of Warrington versus Martinez 2? I'll address some of the comments. To be fair, Jacobs has fought the best. Yeah, he has. He's always given a good account of himself. Maybe barring the Dmitry Pirog fight. But that was very early on in Jacobs' career. But he got starched. Pirog, man, I miss that guy. Probably one of my favorite fighters of all time. Loved watching Pirog. Andre Rosier, Jacobs' trainer for the Canelo fight, said Jacobs didn't train properly for the Canelo fight. Okay, that's interesting. It's quite strange. You'd think that you're going into the biggest fight of your career against, and getting the biggest paycheck of your career. You'd want to train properly. What else did he say? Because if he said he doesn't train properly, does that mean he overtrained? Did he undertrain? Did he, I don't know, spend too much time favoring one training methodology over the other? It's kind of vague. If you know anything about that, boxing on the edge, put it in the chat. Talks are Lee Wood can seriously crack. Okay. I have to check him out because just going off of memory, I'm not sure if I remember. Yeah, I can't remember his record. Let's check him out. Lee Wood. I mean, he certainly made a name for himself in a very short space of time. Lethal Lee Wood. Okay. So yeah, 25 wins, 15 knockouts. Lost to Jazza Dickens, 10-round majority decision. Don't remember seeing that one. Was that Golden Contract? The James Dickens fight, or Jazza Dickens rather. What was that fight when Jacobs came out and blew the guy away in the first round? Quillin, that's it. Yeah, that was he smoked Quillin. And Quillin's got those big eyes. He's got big eyes anyway. And then when Jacob started putting hands on him, his eyes got even bigger. It was the weirdest thing. Yeah. Yeah, I remember that. That's when Danny Jacobs was vicious, you know. Maybe he's lost it a little bit, lost his killer instinct. But yeah, completely just Quillian didn't know what hit him. Did not know what hit him. That fight was a little while ago. Was that like January 2016, I think? Something like that. So it was a few years ago. How much did you pay for that ticket? Oh, I just seen. Oh, wow. Boxing on the Edge. Did you go to that fight? If so, you know, that's yeah, see, it's always a gamble when you pay to see like a good high level fight with particular fighters, because you think, what happens if it ends in the first round and you've just shelled out a couple of bills for a good seat, 150. 100. Oh, well, it's not too bad. It's not too bad. Add another zero onto that, then that's a real you know, they have you punching walls. Missed the undercard too. Oh man. The last fight I went to live was DeGale versus Eubank Jr. And probably not, it wasn't the best main event, but the undercard, it was pretty stacked. You know, that was a good night out, that one. That was a good but you know, watching DeGale get beaten up by Eubank Jr. Because you know, DeGale was someone who grew on me. I was never like, you know, a lot of people hated DeGale. I never really, I liked him, you know, I thought he was all right, and I liked his style, especially when he started to get a lot more momentum and he was fighting better guys. But then to see him completely shot to bits, getting just dismantled by Eubank Jr., he was shot. Was only in the building for 90 seconds. Imagine that, paying 150 big ones to to just walk into the, what was it the Barclays Center? I think it was the Barclays Center for what, 90 seconds. That's the most expensive 90-second tour you can get. That was Al Heyman's first venture into the GB scene. Yeah. And I don't think he's done one since. Don't think he's done one since. Al Heyman thought he was going to infect the UK with his cult. But just go back to Lee Wood. I think he's definitely someone I'm going to have to watch a bit more. I haven't watched much of this guy. All I see is, I feel like I've seen the Gavin McDonald fight. I feel like I've seen that one. And yeah, I think that's it. Definitely going to check out some more Lee Wood, because he seems to be getting some decent form. Against Michael Conlan. Michael Conlan, I haven't been impressed. I remember seeing him in the amateurs in the 2016 Olympics, and I was like, damn, this guy, I look forward to him turning pro, because I feel like he's going to be a real exciting fight to watch. And I haven't been too pleased with what I've seen from Conlan. Conceição, I think, versus Martinez is this week. I feel like that fight's gone under the radar. Conceição, yeah, I heard about that fight. I think a lot of eyes are on Conceição now, because people they saw the Valdez fight and they want to see where this guy goes. Yeah, pound for pound, Conlan, since he's turned pro, for me, has looked quite flat and hasn't really fought any decent names either. He's, you know, Bob hasn't got him any decent opponents. So I guess this Lee Wood fight is definitely a step up. Is AJ going to step aside? I don't know. And you know what? I don't even think AJ knows, because I don't know. There are just so many question marks. And you know what? I feel like it's indicative of the confusion that's in AJ's own head, because he probably understands in his heart that he shouldn't go for the fight next. And he sees the positives in this situation where he can take a step away from the limelight and he can have some development fights. And I think people, they kind of misconstrue what you say. When you say development fights, that doesn't mean easy fights. That doesn't mean, oh, you're just going to have a couple of easy touches, some tomato cans, just to boost up your ego a bit more. No, it's not that. It's you're in a good, uh, competitive but manageable fight where you can work certain things out. You can test being with a new trainer. And when when you take that time, it pays off in the long run. It's an investment. And AJ himself, he said that he's someone who, he doesn't plan to be a shooting star. He wants to be someone probably like a Vlad, who is in boxing for a long time. And so it's kind of strange that he says that, but he's always, okay, I've just lost this guy, I've got to jump into the immediate rematch. Because this is a, excuse me, I'm just readjusting myself. This is a different ball game to the Andy Ruiz saga, because you could see that in the first fight, Anthony Joshua was piecing Andy Ruiz up with relative ease, then knocked him down in the third round, got greedy, made a mistake, paid the price. AJ doesn't have good powers of recovery, and Ruiz closed the show. Not to downplay Ruiz's achievement, he became a champion. You know, AJ's been in with many other world level fighters like Ruiz, and they couldn't do that. But the thing was, you could see it was there. The evidence was there. The mistake that AJ made, and he paid the price. So it was easier to remedy and then come back better. Whereas against Usyk, yeah, Joshua had some success, but it was so few and far between that it doesn't really stick in your mind that much. Yeah, exactly. Ruiz caught him with a temple shot. And yeah, that's bad enough because Ruiz can punch. Many people have said that Ruiz is like one of the hardest punches I've been in with. So yeah, AJ got caught and he paid the price, but he knew how to remedy it. He doesn't know what to do against Usyk, but he may know what he has to do, but he doesn't have the practice of doing this. He needs to have that development stage now. He needs to have a little bit of a Rocky montage where he goes off and fights some other people, trains in the flipping mountains or something, plowing through snow. But most importantly, he needs to find himself. You know, there have been plenty of videos I've done, Chris has done, Chris Andre, Hatman, talking about AJ's psyche and how, you know, he's kind of at odds with himself. He doesn't know what he wants to be. And personally, I think the three of us say, actually, I can't even say that, but I feel like it's AJ, personality. I don't think Anthony Joshua is a naturally aggressive person. I feel like he's quite measured. He's quite calculated. And that's probably why him and Vlad and Floyd Mayweather he has like, he resonates with them a bit more, or they resonate with him. I'm not sure. But yeah, I don't think AJ is a naturally aggressive person. So it's when he's kind of backed up, when people are taking the piss out of him, saying, "Oh, you lost to a cruiserweight. Oh, you lost to a fat Mexican." He's like, he wants to respond. He wants to get angry and lash out and be the bad man AJ from Watford. You know, if you know about Watford, there's not much to know. He doesn't know how. Does he want to be Mr. PC? Does he want to be this bad man who's gonna, you know, box you in the mouth if you say anything, if you badmouth him? He doesn't know. And that's in a social aspect. Imagine if you apply that to boxing one of the best guys in the entire sport. You know, talk about confused.com. That's what AJ is. So I don't know if AJ's going to step aside. I don't even really want to hazard a guess because who knows what's going to happen? Who knows? Okay. Feels like you're on a ferry. Oh, is that taking a temple shot? Yeah. Thankfully, I never took too many temple shots. I remember taking one, and then the thing was, it didn't even hurt, but my legs just kind of gave way. Like, and excuse the analogy or the anecdote, but when you sit on the toilet for too long, you're doing your business, you're taking a dump, and you're on your phone, and you get pins and needles, but you kind of sit through it, and then your legs go, and then you go to stand up too quickly, and your legs kind of dip a little bit. That's like, in my experience, that's what a temple shot felt like. But thankfully, I didn't have to ship too many of those. um, but yeah, I don't know what's going to go on with the whole AJ thing. Like, I don't want to sound like a downer, but last year in the summer, when people were saying that, oh, AJ versus Fury is going to happen in August, people who don't even watch boxing, but they know I do, they were asking me like, "Oh, what do you think of it? Who's going to win? Blah 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 blah." And I was just like, I don't think it's going to happen. I don't believe it's going to happen until I see them in the ring about to touch gloves. That's the moment when I'll tell you what I think. And as I said, I don't want to sound like a downer, but that's exactly what happened. It didn't happen. So yeah, I want to be glasses half full, but it's boxing, That's what happens. Yeah, what an analogy. That's the only thing I can describe it as. When your legs just they give up on you momentarily. You got to steady yourself. uh, um, so yeah, this whole Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury, Dylan White, Joshua saga is just sort it out, please. Yeah, the timing was not there. And I feel like it goes, say, talking about the AJ Fury thing, the past day has shown how, I mean, longer than the past day, but for example, in the past day, you've seen how some uh, boxing publications, they just run away. They run away with a headline, and it can completely, okay, oh, so it looks like this is likely going to happen. And then Anthony Joshua, who the fighter in question, comes out and said, "Oh, hold on, I never said this." Like, it just goes to show the power of the media and how they're not always honest. I mean, we all knew that. You look at mainstream media; it's very rarely honest. Um, Dalmas, who are your favorite or some of your favorite fighters? Oh, you're about to open a can of worms here. About to open a can of worms. I've got a lot of favorites. It's hard for me to say I've got one definitive favorite because I don't. But I'd say that one of my all-time favorites, and the fighter that got me into boxing, and it's quite generic, is Mike Tyson, obviously. Um, Mike Tyson, like, with Mike Tyson, he was just so explosive. And bear in mind, I didn't grow up, like, I'm a 90s baby. So Mike Tyson was only, uh, I didn't grow up and see Mike Tyson's prime as it was happening. But Mike Tyson was just, because you know what? To give you a bit of context, I love fighters who are able to marry skill and athleticism. And Mike Tyson is probably like, I've very rarely seen someone do it better than him. Mike Tyson is not just the pressure fighter, the big punch that people make him out. He's a legitimately skilled fighter. Mike Tyson is up there in terms of IQ and technique. And that's not, like, you don't hear that often, but trust me, he is. And the athleticism, talk about pure power. The embodiment of explosive power is Mike Tyson. But I also love James Toney. James Toney, I've said it before in a film study I did with him. He's probably the most naturally talented fighter I've ever seen. Once again, I didn't see his prime. Didn't witness his prime as it was happening, but these are fighters who I can just watch endless tape of. So Mike Tyson, James Toney, who else? Mike McCallum, and then obviously McCallum and Toney fought. That first fight is probably one of my favorite fights of all time. Who else? So these are like fighters back in the day. So James Toney, Mike Tyson, Mike McCallum. Recent fighters. Pirog, as I said earlier, Pirog. I loved watching Pirog. Once again, another extremely naturally talented fighter who had good athleticism, a wicked IQ. It's just a shame that his career was cut short. But I believe he's in Russian politics now. Who else? Currently, Lomachenko and Usyk. Both really like those two. And I've said many times that I believe that Usyk and Lomachenko, they're playing a pivotal role in the development of boxing going forward, because they're going to be the subject of so many studies, and people are going to watch them and break down their style and be like, why didn't we do this sooner? And then they're going to start doing it. It's going to lay the foundation for the next generation. Yeah, I like a lot of fighters. But just to give you an idea of what I look for, as I say, I like that perfect marriage of athleticism and skill. Because I when I was boxing, and I think in just my personality overall, I hate reliance on one particular aspect. So I like a good, well-rounded approach to pretty much every endeavor into life. You know, I always want to be like the most well-rounded, and so I feel that's what I look for fighters with those kind of attributes. Yeah, kind of controversial, but I've never been a massive Muhammad Ali fan, to be fair. I like old school fighters like Jersey Joe Walcott. He's another fighter who I love watching. But, Muhammad Ali, I can kind of take it or leave it. If anything, this sounds weird, but hear me out. I actually prefer watching George Foreman compared to watching Muhammad Ali. I prefer watching George Foreman. Kind of strange, I know, but it's just my quirk, I suppose. Any other fighters? Man, this is what I mean. Dalmas, you opened a tin of worms, because got me thinking now. Because I don't want to leave anyone out. I've had a few fighters over the years who are like generally quite unpopular, but that I love watching, at least for a certain amount of time. Two of them, both being from Cuba, Erislandy Lara and Guillermo Rigondo, because they're not the most popular fighters, and they've been responsible for stinking out a lot of fights. But for a period of time, I loved watching them. Guillermo Rigondo, he's a weird one, because he's often kind of credited as being some kind of master boxer, but his skill set isn't really that diverse. He's actually quite a limited fighter, technically and tactically, but he's got great athleticism. He's a freak athlete, Rigondo. Even though his performances are quite reserved, you don't always see it. But if you look at his technique, it's basic, but it's refined. And that just goes to show how far you can go in boxing, how much you can achieve if you just focus on the basics. And then Erislandy Lara, a similar thing. I think Lara's got a bit more of a diverse skill set, but it's maybe not as polished. And I also think he was in a much tougher division at the time. So it was hard for him to break away. Paul Williams, how can I forget Paul Williams? I always really liked watching Paul Williams. I don't want to say he was one of my favorites, because I don't think defensively he was good enough. But yeah, Paul Williams. because the sheer volume, he was just an offensive powerhouse, but defense was lacking a little bit. It's sad what happened to him as well. Dalmas, I can relate to that. I loved watching Broner at one point. Yeah, Broner too. Broner's a good fighter. You know, Broner was Broner's his performances were always flat, but or sometimes flat, not always flat, but there was Broner's skill. You could see he had it, and he was a good athlete. So I always liked watching Broner too. Conor Benn has come out and said he understands why AJ will take the step aside. Yeah, I think most people understand. I understand. Because if you're AJ, what? You're going to get a free 15 million and you can focus on your development to improve your chances later on down the line. It's really a no-brainer when you look at it logistically. But you have to factor in egos, you know? Because I don't even think you can really say, oh, if I don't take the immediate rematch, if you're AJ, if I don't take the immediate rematch, I'm going to miss the opportunity to fight for a world title again. That's BS. AJ realistically could fight for a title whenever he wants. Well, not whenever he wants. He would most likely always be in the running for a title fight as long as there are no mandatories or any kind of legal disputes and stuff like that. Because you have to remember that even though AJ is no longer a champion, he's still the money man. You know, Tyson Fury's catching up, but he's still the second biggest profile, if not still the biggest profile in heavyweight boxing. So, but that, I mean, it remains to be seen how many people are going to turn up for AJ if he's not a champion. I imagine that his next fight, if it's in the UK, a lot of people will turn out for it if it's against a title holder because they want to see the redemption story. But if it's, okay, a non-title fight, maybe not. It depends who it's against. So, but there's still a lot of money behind AJ. And you have to imagine, like, this guy's earned a lot. This guy was earning, what, £3 million for a British title fight against Dillian Whyte? And that was 6 years ago. So surely he can invest a bit more in his career, you know? I don't know. I'm not AJ's financier or anything, you know. I don't run his books. Yeah, AJ still has a lot to give. I'm guessing you guys saw Colin Hart, his clickbait tagline, AJ's a spent force. Yeah, what do you guys make of that? Is AJ a spent force? Personally, I don't think he is. However, I don't think AJ's got to be very careful. He's walking a very thin line, I think, right now. Dalmas, speaking of Conor Benn, what do you think his ceiling is? Against the current crop of top level welterweights, assuming that Ben stays in this division and they stay in this division, I don't think he can get through them to get to a title. Because, firstly, my main concern for Conor Benn is his size. And now, size isn't everything. I'm not going to sit here and, like, size is important, but it's not everything. But Conor Benn, when I say he's small, he is small. He is tiny. And I've said this in a few videos before because I don't think people truly take it in. The cameras really do blow people up. I've seen Conor Benn in person numerous times, and he's tiny. He's a small guy. However, he's developing very well. He hasn't fought the best level of opposition, but he is going in the right direction. So with enough time, he's going to become quite a decent fighter, I think. However, I feel they do need to start putting him in against people who are going to question him and present him with some questions, with some obstacles, so he can maximize his development. Because Chris Algieri Yeah, it was impressive how he dismantled Chris Algieri and how he dealt with him. But did anyone really expect anything else? I think most people anticipated that he'd stop Chris Algieri. And Chris Algieri is a good fighter, but he's just so past it. It wasn't like the truest representation of Algieri's ability. And he's not a puncher as well. So even if it was Chris Algieri on his day, it wouldn't have. Uh, there are only so many questions that Chris Algieri could offer. You know, AJ on a hiding to do nothing, whatever he does. Wait, AJ on a hiding to nothing, whatever he does. Boss man, gonna have to translate for me. But yeah, Conor Benn, I think he's got his ceiling's high, but the other guys in the division, I just think their ceilings are higher. That's what I have to say. But someone obviously, Dalmas, you spoke about Broner. I think Broner's a good fight for Conor Benn. I'd love to see that fight because I think it's got good ingredients for a good matchup, but also I want to see the build up because Broner's just such a troll and such a like trashy guy. He really doesn't. He's not afraid to say certain things, and then you have Conor Benn, who's just like so emotionally charged, like his dad, that I can't see that being peaceful. That's just got fireworks. Fight Usyk, wing killers, Joyce, Hergovic. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, I get what you mean. Yeah. See, that's the thing. AJ's in a sticky situation, very sticky, because if he fights Usyk, I don't have much confidence that he's going to beat Usyk in a rematch. And then you have the guys outside of the championship, so you got, as you say, Joyce, Hergovic. Who else is there at heavyweight? There's so many dangerous guys at heavyweight. I always have to check the rankings to make sure I don't miss anyone. Yeah, so I mean, there's still Deontay Wilder, but didn't Deontay Wilder say he was retiring? I don't know. Dylan White. You can't forget the first fight that White and Joshua had. That was a punch up. That was a barroom brawl. Yeah, don't fight Usyk look like a scaredy cat. Well, that's the thing, boss man. It's like these fighters, because if he doesn't fight Usyk, and then people say, "Oh, you're scared of Usyk," that's BS because he already went in with Usyk. So, I mean, yeah, look, he didn't take a hiding before going in with Usyk, but like, if you're that scared of someone, you're not going to go in with them in the first place. But of course, that's like what casuals are going to say. It's what the boxing fraternity will say. And then once again, that comes back to AJ's ego. Does he want to prioritize his ego and his instant gratification amongst the fans? Or does he want to prioritize his long-term development and increase his chance of success in the long run? It's a trade-off, One stings initially, but pays off after a while. Whereas the other one, it's a gamble. And if it goes tits up, it goes tits up in a big way. It's one of those scenarios where Ben will become very good fight, but he's in an era of two elites who hold the belts for a while. Ortiz and Ennis. It's like footballers with... Yeah, that's it. Because I just think that... Excuse me if that picks up anything. I'm just readjusting. Yeah, Ben is... If he wants to make a name for himself, he needs to explore the weight classes below, in my opinion. Because I don't think if he was to go down to 140, I don't think he'd be drained. I think he'd probably enjoy quite a few advantages because I can't see him beating Ortiz and Ennis. And now those two, I haven't seen much of. I've seen more of Ortiz and less of Ennis. I don't think I've actually seen I've seen like 3 rounds of Ennis, and I thought he was good. He's like still got a lot to prove, in my opinion, but he certainly looks like a handful. He looks like out of all the guys at welterweight, he's gonna be the one that nobody's particularly keen on fighting, just based on the 3 rounds I've seen of him. I need to check him out some more. Ortiz, on the other hand, is a bit more methodical, but I think based on his like age and his ability currently, he does have a lot more he can do. Check this out, guys. There's a video of Ennis's dad sparring, and this guy is, I think he's like in his 60s or maybe even his 70s. I think like 67 or something like that. And this guy can fight. He's like messing around sparring, but you can tell this guy's got skills. So check it out. I can't remember which channel uploaded it though. But if you just type in um Bozy Ennis, I think his name is. That guy, he's just as entertaining as his son. Right. Yeah, so heavyweight rankings. Dylan White, Joseph Parker. Joseph Parker seems to be on an upward trajectory, I want to say, at least the start of one. Derek Chisora. Well, Derek Chisora's Chisora, isn't he? Michael Hunter. Michael Hunter. It's fallen out of favor a little bit with the fans. Murat Gassiev. Gassiev. He's doing his thing. He's kind of plodding along, I want to say, though. Not really getting too much done at heavyweight. Just beat Valish in July. Yeah, Bozy Ennis. So yeah, heavyweight is pretty stacked. You look at the top 25, and it's a lot of good fights to be made. But Joshua, where does he go? And it just goes to show that there's not going to be any definitive guy. Like, there's not going to be one standout guy. It's just so unlikely. If it happens, that person's going to be truly extraordinary, but I don't see it happening. I got a feeling White will suffer very badly from all this undisputed talk if it happens. Yeah, you know what? A lot of people in White's position, they would just say they'd lose their marbles. They'd get so fed up of, like, I mean, it's bad enough that he's having the whole saga with the WBC, because that really is a scandal. Like, there's no other word to describe it. It's scandalous. And it's he seems like he's finally getting like in pole position to get his shot. And then there's talks of Tyson Fury versus Usyk, Joshua versus Usyk too, or Usyk versus Joshua, the rematch. It's like, and then you're Dylan White and you've been fighting all these tough guys for years now, and you're just like, yeah, I'm still here, But however, obviously sympathy for Dylan White. But remember that April 2019, he was offered the Joshua fight for April 2019, and he didn't take it. So it's, sometimes you have to strike while the iron is hot. Of course, there are reasons why Dylan White didn't take that fight, because apparently it was a low ball offer, and he'd lost to Joshua previously. And at the time, Joshua looked very, very sturdy. No one was particularly keen on fighting Joshua. But there you go. You never know what's going to happen. Never know what's going to happen. Chris Andre in the house. How you doing, bro? I'd definitely lose my marbles. I really feel for him. I'd refuse to step aside. Yeah, it's tough. It's a tough situation for old Dylan. Because if there's anyone who deserves a crack at the title, it's him. And yeah, see, I actually like the fight between him and Fury. I feel like the build up is good, but I feel like it's a good kind of all action affair, because I believe that would be able to see another aspect to Tyson Fury's psyche potentially, because there's all this talk about Dylan White knocking Tyson Fury down multiple times in sparring. How, if that is true, which, to be honest, I've never heard Tyson Fury come out and decline it and deny it, but yeah, how would Tyson Fury deal with that, going into the ring with someone who potentially gave him a bit of a hiding? years ago, but nevertheless. Because the thing is as well, Hatman pointed this out. Dylan White's, he's quite sharp mentally, so he's not necessarily going to fall for Tyson Fury's mind games. Because that's the thing about with Tyson Fury and that kind of mind game approach, you have to imagine that after a while, it starts to lose its potency. Because I don't know about you guys, but I've kind of over the past couple of years, I've grown to get quite tired of Tyson Fury. He's a great fighter, excellent fighter, but with the interviews and be it at press conferences or on IFL, it gets a bit boring, a bit old. Tyson Fury, he's kind of singing from the same hymn sheet all over, like over and over and over again. Whereas before, early in his career, it was a lot fresher. He was a bit more. I don't want to say off the cuff, but let's just say his lexicon of insults was a bit more varied and a bit wider. But yeah, I don't think Tyson Fury's mental, his tricks are going to phase White as much as certain other fighters. Yeah, exactly. Pound for pound, that's what I was saying. Since his comeback, the trash talk is exactly the same for each fight. Yeah, I mean, you don't get graded on trash talk, but it's like it's the same lines all over and over and over again. And maybe, just maybe, it's because he fought Wilder 3 times. That's the same opponent 3 times, saying the same thing. But yeah, I've grown to get a bit tired of Tyson Fury, just to be honest. Doesn't mean I'm going to assess his fights any differently, but just like as a personality, because Tyson Fury is a personality, and he tries to use that personality to his advantage, Yeah, I hope that White fight happens between him and Tyson Fury. But what about the undisputed fight between Usyk and Tyson Fury? That's a tough one in my head. Very tough one. I'm not entirely sure who I'd favor for that fight as well. Maybe White will bring something new out of Fury. Yeah, that's what I'm theorizing. Maybe we see a different version of Tyson Fury. Maybe a nervous Tyson Fury. Who knows? But that's why it's interesting to see the fight. See if it happens. But moral of the story is heavyweight is where it's at. Plenty of good fights. Question for you guys. Out of all the guys at heavyweight, who is your favorite to watch? Not who do you think the best is, but who's your favorite to watch? In my opinion, the Fury from Wilder 2 will be hard to beat. Yeah, Fury in that second Wilder fight looked. I don't want to say he looked unstoppable because that was against Wilder, but he looked good. I think mentally was like the best I've seen Tyson Fury look, because it was like he was assertive and confident, whereas against Klitschko, it was more of a finesse job. He was still assertive enough to win over Klitschko, but you could tell that he really didn't like Deontay Wilder, and he wanted to do some serious damage, which is good because Tyson Fury doesn't always secure a stoppage. Dalmas, Fury's trash talk certainly wouldn't phase Usyk. That honestly might throw Fury off mentally, not being able to get under his skin like he does. Yeah, exactly. You trash talk as well as you want, but if your opponent doesn't really understand what you're saying, it's like pissing into the wind, isn't it? But yeah, I think Usyk, whichever way you cut it, Usyk's just going to be a tough fight for Fury, because maybe Fury doesn't even see Usyk as a threat, and we've seen what happens to Tyson Fury. Excuse me, when he doesn't perceive you as a threat, he can really be a bit of a slack job, to be honest. But interesting, interesting. Because I said this when G-Man and I were on Hatman on his live stream when I think it was the night of the Joshua Usyk first fight, and in my head, leading up to like Usyk's kind of avenue into heavyweight, I thought that if he could beat Joshua, he has like a better chance of beating Fury and Wilder, just because I saw Joshua as having the coordination to keep up with him. Just my opinion, though, of course, and it could change. Mr. Relax, welcome, Mr. Relax. Hi, who you got, Khan or Brook? Oh, good question. Good question. Oh man, you know what? For the longest time, so for years now, nearly 10 years, I've always been leaning towards Brook for like I don't want to say heavily, but substantially, like quite heavily, not quite heavily. I've been leaning towards Brook. However, I was actually talking to Pound for Pound the other day in the Discord, and and it just seems like when this fight happens, it's going to be Sod's Law for Kell Brook, but he loses this fight and probably loses by stoppage. Because could you imagine being Kell Brook and chasing this fight for years, like not hyperbole, for actually chasing it for years, and you finally get it, and then Khan gives you a hiding? That would just be like such bad luck. But I can see it happening. Um, I think Khan's going to be dangerous early, not because he's going to like necessarily knock Brook out of one punch, but he would like maybe buzz Brook, and if Khan follows up and maybe just pins him against the ropes and he's like throwing punches like a madman. I don't know. For me, this is a real 50-50. And yeah, they're both washed up, but I don't know if I'm ready to kind of nail my colours to the mast yet. But maybe for now, I'll say like 51-49 in favor of Brook, just because Khan is so fragile. Boss man, favorite heavyweight to watch without questions, Wilder. He goes from the ridiculous to the sensational quicker than you can blink. Exactly. When Wilder smells blood, different animal. And yeah, he's all over the place, but you know, you can just see that this guy can whack. He's got that farmyard strength on this lanky body, and he's just whipping shots in. So yeah, I can understand why you say Wilder. Car Crash TV at its finest. Yeah. ATB Vids, peace. Thank you for joining the chat, sir. Yeah, someone already asked Lee versus Conlan, but it's no biggie. Lee versus Conlan. You know what? I've seen virtually nothing of Lee Wood. I've seen more of Conlan, and I haven't been impressed. So what I'll have to do is watch a bit more of Conlan, watch a bit more of Wood, because apparently he's decent and apparently he can punch. So I think it's a good fight. I think it's a close fight. And I actually see it as being a step up for Conlan more so than Lee Wood. Just my assessment, but yeah, I'm going to lean towards Lee Wood. I haven't seen much of him, if anything, but Conlan I've just not impressed with, I have to say. Mr. Relax, my head says Khan, but my heart says come on, Brook. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of like the fairy tale ending, is for Brook to kind of be like the final nail in Khan's coffin and splatter him one last time. But these two, they are both on the way out. I think this realistically is the last fight for both of them. So yeah. I don't know. I'm definitely going to pay for the fight and watch it. Pound for pound, Hearn versus Warren in a gloves are off episode. Who wins? Well, Hatman was talking about this the other day, wasn't he? About how we get to see them in the same room, and maybe, just maybe, Hearn is having a bit of squeaky bum time, and he thinks that if he meets up with Warren in person, he end up getting fed to the pigs. So I don't know. I mean, you'd have to favour Hearn, wouldn't you? He's got the reach, he's got the height, maybe a bit of power in the right hand, and Frank Warren has the dent in his forehead, so probably indicative of not having the best defense. But it might be at a catch weight. Maybe Warren can get Hearn a bit weight drained. Who knows? Who knows? But then if they're just talking in a room, which is most likely going to happen, you'd have to imagine Hearn. Come on, man. Hearn's the $1 billion man. DAZN, they injected the $1 billion into Hearn, whereas Frankie Blue Eyes is I don't know. I think Queensbury's struggling just a bit. But to be fair, when you look at the kind of back and forth between these two, Warren he's pretty handy at like getting some sly digs in. He I mean, he's a complete hypocrite, and so he kind of contradicts himself, but you can tell with his kind of beady fish eyes, Frank Warren, he can pick up on certain things and use it as ammunition. So, I'd love to see it. Pay-per-view 2022. Warren is a cat, or like a cat, he has many lives. Yeah, I mean, famously walked out of the hospital after someone shot him, didn't he? So, like Audley said, he's a survivor. So you got to respect him for that. He's a survivor. Not a nice man. Not someone who you'd want to buy a drink for, but yeah, he's a survivor. And shout out to Chris for that video. I don't know, like the Audley Harrison video. When I was watching that, I was seeing the things that Audley was saying. I just got flashbacks to Denzel Washington in Training Day, and he's like, King Kong ain't got ish on me, that kind of. I'm just like, that's Audley right now. Audley he wants all the smoke. He's coming out all guns blazing, doesn't care what he says and who he says it to. So yeah, Audley's on one. Are you giving McKinson a chance versus Virgil Ortiz? Big step up, says Mr. Relax. Yeah, I touched on this one before. McKinson, it's a bit of a strange fight, but yeah, he's stepping up to fight Ortiz. McKinson, I don't think too highly of. I don't really like his style, but he's undefeated. I can't say I'm giving him a big chance. I kind of see this as like 65-35 in favor of Virgil Ortiz. Just like that's my thoughts on that fight right now. Just because I think Ortiz has fought some better guys. He fought Hooker, he fought Kavaliauskas, two guys I rate quite highly. McKinson, on the other hand, he's only just started making a name for himself. Is his best win Chris Kongo? Yeah, Chris Kongo, good fighter at British level, maybe. So definitely a step up. But I'd favour Ortiz. I've never associated Audley with Denzel before. Yeah. No, that was just in my head. Just in my head, I was thinking, this is Audley's last stand. He's gunning for everyone. He's going for all the top dogs. ATB Vids, do you have a favorite journeyman? Favorite journeyman? Does Derek Chisora count? Because is Derek Chisora still a gatekeeper? Because some people refer to him as a gatekeeper, or is he an official journeyman now? Because if he's a journeyman, I'd say Chisora. If not, favorite journeyman. That's a tough question. That is a tough old question. Oh man, got me going silent because I'm thinking. You know what? Danny Williams. Yeah, I think Danny Williams fought recently. Excuse me, guys. I'm getting kind of uncomfortable here. Let me move around some more. Danny Williams. Yeah, rather than just saying his name over and over again, why don't I actually check his record? See when he last fought. Brixton Bummer. Yeah. Oh well, I didn't think it was that recently. He fought in December. Uh yeah, I haven't watched Danny Williams in a long time. In a long time. So you know what? I'd have to get back to you. I'm not sure who my favorite journeyman is. You know, because I don't want to just say Sokolovsky, because yeah, he's good. He'll turn a prospect over on his day, but I feel like that's a bit of a cop out. However, that being said, I don't know if you've seen um, Sokolovsky when he fought Nick Webb, but he absolutely flattened Nick Webb. And that was a good performance from Sokolovsky, just completely steamrolled him. Was in good shape, could see abs. Oh, wow. Danny Williams at what, 48 years old? He's still got the abs, still got the six pack. Hey, man, that's an achievement in itself. This guy turned pro in 95 and he's still going to the present day. That's bananas. That is absolute. Like, most people, they have that amateur and pro career in that time. And that's just Danny Williams' pro career with 30 losses, over half of them coming by stoppage. Talk about for the love of boxing. Well, I'm assuming he still loves boxing. He might be doing it for other reasons. Okay, I think I'm enjoying this, guys. I hope you are as well. You know, 11 lads talking boxing on a Monday evening. I'm going to bring it to a close at when it reaches 1:30. So we've got another 2 minutes. So if you've got any questions or you want to bring anything up, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. No, I've enjoyed this. I want to make it a regular thing. It's been good to talk boxing, but go for an hour and a half. Going to get some training done afterwards. Get a bit active. Have I missed anything? Anything I can pick up on the last few minutes? Yeah, dry time for boxing right now. A bit dry. But February looks like it's going to be a good month. Looking forward to February. I'll be able to do plenty of videos, do some more live streams, of course. Talk about Khan versus Brook, obviously. That's a good fight. Not the highest level fight, but it'll be entertaining. Eubank versus Williams. I was gutted when that got postponed, but it looks like it's going to happen. I give respect to Harrison fighting with that one arm. When it's crazy KO, was it, versus Sprott? Yeah. Hey, a lot of people call Audley fraudly and whatnot. And look, maybe he's getting a bit too big for his boots, but as Chris said, gold medalist, European champion, he achieved something. And he was in a lot of memorable fights, maybe for the wrong reasons, but hey, if he set out to make an impression, he certainly succeeded. All right. Yeah. Those are always in knockout highlight videos, the Harrison Sprott fights. Always a good fun watch, those fights. All right, 10 seconds, people, or 12, 11. I want to stop it on 1:30 on the dot, otherwise my OCD will go nuts. So good night, people. Thanks for tuning in. Catch you in the next one. Damn it. Gone over. But yeah, take it easy, people. Have a good week. Thanks for tuning in. Greatly appreciate it. I thoroughly enjoyed. So till next time.